What makes an iconic comic book cover? It's not always about the first appearances or major storylines. Sometimes it's the artwork that grabs your attention. A moment frozen in time, a pose so bold, or a layout so striking it sticks with you years after you've seen it. Maybe it's how the colors pop off the page. Maybe it's how it captures the spirit of the character better than the story inside could ever do. Or maybe it's just flat out cool. We're counting down 25 of the most iconic comic book covers that aren't considered key issues. These aren't the first, the deaths, or the origin stories, but they still left a mark. We'll break down their current market prices, take a look at the CGC census numbers, and honestly, you might be shocked on how affordable some of these covers still are. Whether you're a collector, fan of cover art, or someone just starting their journey, this list might give you some new appreciation or even a few new books to track down. This is Creator Spotlight, Top 25 Iconic Covers. Welcome to Creative Spotlight. This is the segment where we talk about iconic covers or we do a creator spotlight on either an artist, a writer, or something like today where we're really going to be looking at some iconic covers. We're looking at what I like to call my top 25. The order that it's in is really chronological. And Shane and I looked at a couple of books and we said, hey, these are some really good iconic covers. But here's the catch we're going to talk about is what makes an iconic cover. So that's the question I'm going to pose to you, Shane. And really the question is, what would consist of an iconic cover?
Well, I think for sure it's something that is going to stand out for one reason or another. And iconic, I think we're going to eliminate infamous. So we're going to like drop any kind of new Frank Miller cover is not going to be an iconic cover. But something that when you go to a comic show, it's one of the first things that every vendor puts out because they want to draw your eye to their booth. Things that are going to look good, whether it's a wraparound cover or not, and some are, and things like that for sure.
Yeah. Instant wall books, right?
Yeah.
That's what we'll call instant wall books. So there is a criteria that we're going to be following with these covers. What they are not are keys in that way. So we're looking at non-key iconic covers. So every book on this list is a key only because of the cover and not because of a first appearance or a major event or anything of that nature. So if there's an iconic cover that's missing from this list, if it's a key, it's not going to be on this list. We're simply looking at non-key iconic covers. Now, there are some that there are exceptions to the rule in which it may have a first appearance, but it's a first appearance of the most minor of minor characters. Like, I don't know, like a mailman or something. I don't know, something along the lines, or a character that has no legitimacy. No one cares about this character. So there might be one or two there, but for the most part, all of these covers that we're going to be looking at in this list, they're special covers that people want just because of the cover. All right. Is there
Yeah,
any other criteria, Shane?
I think Black Spiders actually just said a really good point that we missed is they could be posters, and most of them are posters actually.
Mm-hmm. Posters, T-shirts, mugs, notebooks, all that stuff. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and start with our very first iconic cover, and we're going to go all the way back to 1967. Tales to Astonish, 93. This book came out 1967 for Marvel Comics. The high sale of this book is $275 at the 5.5 in September of 2023. The last sale was $19 and this came out in November of 2023. The Raws are going for $19, while the 5.5 is the fair market value of the book as ingraded. There's currently 2,130 copies of this cover, and this is an iconic artwork featuring Hulk and Silver Surfer by Maureen Severin, a name that you don't normally hear that often, but she's a great
No,
artist.
I love this cover because if you look at it, Silver Surfer is actually dragging the Hulk along just by, you know, by his arm essentially, or the Hulk is being dragged. Just looks cool.
Yeah, there's a little bit of Kirby in Silver Surfer. Have you noticed the way he looks? Right? And then, so there's a little John Buscema, a little bit of Kirby in Marine's art style because she does a lot of inking. She did a lot of inking in her time as well. This is her cover, which I'm really happy that the first book in our list is done by a woman. You know what
and
I'm
it's a really
saying?
good one too. And I hadn't seen this cover before either. I think it looks great.
Yeah, it's a great cover. It is iconic. It may not be as iconic as the other ones, but it's definitely iconic. Our next book from this list, Fantastic Four 72, 1968 from Marvel Comics. The high sale of this book is $25,389 in a 9.8. And that was in June of 2029. The last sale of this book was as a $60 and a no grade. The raws are going for about $37, while you could get a grade for 7.5 roughly at $228. There's currently 2,481 copies in the census. This is classic Jack Kirby Silver Surfer. Now, we talk about Fantastic Four 48, 49, and of course, we look at 50, and those are iconic covers. Everybody knows about that famous brown cover. But I honestly think this is better. I like the red background with the Watcher watching Silver Surfer.
Oh yeah, I thought the Watcher, my first kind of exposure to Watcher was in Secret Wars, the first one. And I just thought it was the coolest character. And I agree with you. I love the red background with the black and with the Silver Surfer there. It looks so good.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't like Black Spiders, you can't go wrong with Kirby. He's just too good. You know what I mean? Really good stuff. But $25,000, 9.8. That's insane. That a 9.8
Yeah,
exists of this book. There's not
I
many.
know.
There's
I
only a
can't
few.
believe it.
Our next book in our list is also iconic, iconic, iconic. One of my favorite covers, Incredible Hulk Annual Number 1, 1968 from Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book was $14,400 at a 9.8, and that was in April of 2021. Last sale of this book was at $239 at a 6.5. Fair market value of this books are $132 at a very good. For Raws, $378 at a 7.0 is the average. 2,684 copies in the census. This is my favorite Jim Steranko cover of the Hulk. It is brilliant. It's been homaged so many times.
Yeah, it's so good. And I'm telling you, if you've got 9.8 of anything pre 1970, never, ever, ever send it in for regrading and protect that thing.
Well, the workmanship is so good. It's like the fact that he has the lettering, doing the stuff. It's absolutely great. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It's such a beautiful book. I have the pleasure of someone I know having a copy of this book. He has a 0.5 because it's attached. But still, just the fact that he has it and it's so cool. I'm even tempted of making an offer for it just to have it. I don't care if it's a 0.5, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something that I would love to have one day. Our next book is, I think it's part of a series of covers. It's the first of its kind, and that's Submariner number 8, 1968 from Marvel Comics. The high sale is $3,050 at a 9.8, and that was in December of 2012. the last sale of this book, believe it or not, was $15. The Raws are going for $49 at Find. 9.2 is the average for the greatest, and it's $624. CGC census count 1,060. This is a classic Thing and Namor, or Namor, the Submariner by John Buscema.
Just look at that black cover and just imagine how hard a 9.8 would be to get in that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
So, like I said, this is the first of a series that we're going to see, right? There's another one that's going to come up a little later. The Blacks, right? Like you said, this is a book to, if you saw a beautiful copy, those Blacks might even fade away, right? But it is hard to get a high grade for this book. But besides that, what's your thoughts on this cover, this artwork in general? How iconic do you refer to this one as?
I think it's great. Like, it lets the characters stand front and center. I mean, you know what's going on.
Mhm.
The Thing looks like amazing. Looks like the Thing rather than kind of more sculpted as he gets sometimes.
Yeah.
And Namor's cool too. Like the art looks great for him.
Yeah. It's a cool cover, and it's not the first time we see a John Buscema. In fact, our very next book is a John Buscema. Silver Surfer number 4, 1969 from Marvel Comics. 9.8 of this book was $90,000. Yes, I said it. $90,000. That was in June of 2021. And last sale of this book was $304. That was at a no grade. $405 is very good. That's the fair market value. While 7.0 is $895. 5,832 copies in the census. And clearly one of the greatest Silver Age covers of all time. Thor and the Silver Surfer about to do battle.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those covers where the action dictates part of how iconic it is, because they're about to do something and you want to find out what it is.
Yeah, so there's movement in this static image, and that's what I love about this art. Like, you could see Silver Surfer is about to charge at Thor, but Thor is ready with Mjolnir. Just, it's hammer time, you know what I mean? With this image. The composition is tremendous. It is beautiful. It is gorgeous. It is definitely a book to have if you have the money. I don't have $90,000 to give up for this book, man, as much as I want to. You know what I mean? So I don't even make that kind of money in a yearly basis. You know what I'm saying? Well, but after taxes, I don't make that kind of money. So be a lot of savings there. Mhm. So beautiful, beautiful books. John Buscema does the artwork, does a great job. Here's the next book. The next book we're gonna have, again, remember there's there's some exceptions to the rules. This is one of them, and that is Batman 227, 1970 for DC Comics. High sale of this book was $42,000 at a 9.8, and that was September of 2022. Last sale of this book was $442 at a 4.5. The Raws are going for about $462, while graded 7.0 goes for $1,080. The CGC census count, 2,645 copies exist in the census. Iconic Neil Adams Batman. This is my favorite Neil Adams cover of all time.
See, I like some other ones better. This one, for me, I would take a lot of other books over this one. So this is one that I would, if I had it and it was in really great shape, I'd probably sell it.
Really? Wow. You see, I like it because it has this tone to it that you normally don't see. And yeah, it's just an homage. I agree to that. I said there are some exceptions to the rules. It is an homage of the classic, was it 31? I believe it is Detective 31. But still, Neil Adams had this way of making it look so amazing to me. I think the moon, the fact that Batman is kind of like grayed out, I think it's just beautiful. I believe it's iconic. Well, it is iconic. I don't have to
Oh yeah,
believe it's iconic. It's
yeah.
definitely iconic. And in the 70s, we didn't get a lot of iconic covers that were just covers. This is one of those rare exceptions. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And speaking of Neil Adams, let's go to our next book, Superman 233. This book came out in 1971 for DC Comics. High sale of this book is 5,520 and a 9.6. That was April of 2024. Last sale of this book was $65 at a very good. The Raws are going for about $93, so that person got a really good deal for a book. The 7.5 is going for $346. There's currently 1,635 copies in the census. This is a classic Superman Neil Adams. This is one of those books that when you look at it, it's immediately you see it. People use it as posters. It's been a T-shirt. It's you could pretty much find it anywhere. Notebooks. However, and we spoke about Neil Adams before. We talked about Neil Adams in the past in one of our previous spotlights. It's not. He didn't like this image. Do you know why?
No, I don't remember. I did meet him once. He signed Action, what was 1,000, I think, for me.
So the reason why Neil did not like it is because it was modified. But not only was it modified, the proportions are off. So if you look at the foot that's coming towards us, the longer one, it is actually anatomically incorrect. It's not it works for the image, right? For what it's worth, but it's not correct. One leg is longer than the other. And when you see it, you can notice it.
Yeah, I can see it now that you mentioned it.
You can see that one that's in the background or the one that's behind him is a little more than the one in the front. So, but it's still, I'll kill them to a picture like that and call it iconic. But the book in itself, it actually does have a minor first appearance to it, but no one cares about the first appearance. And let's be honest, people buy it because of the cover. Right. Now we're going back to John Buscema. And remember I said he was kind of had a little theme going on? And that is Fantastic Four 112, 1971 from Marvel Comics. The high sale of this book is $6,300 at a 9.8. That was in November of 2017. The last sale of this book was $205 at a 7.0. Raws are going for $76, while the graded 8.5 goes for $550. There's currently 2,650 copies in the census. This is a classic Hulk and Thing battle done by John Buscema. Just like it says in the cover, enough said.
Yep. What's better, clobbering or smashing?
How about smashing while clobbering? I don't know. But just like the Submariner book, there's a lot of similarities to it. They both have the thing to it. They both have black covers. This one is slightly more iconic, I'll say.
Yeah, and maybe it's because of the two characters and the colors, if I had to guess, but I do like this one better.
They're charging at each other as opposed to one being higher than the other, where the Submariner is kind of, the angle's a little different. This one is more like we're going to battle right now. But either way, it's awesome. Good stuff. All right. Now we're going to move to the 80s, because remember I said the 70s didn't have a lot of iconic covers that were just straight up covers. They did have iconic covers during that time, but they were keys. They were either first appearances or something like that. Our next book is one of our not as expensive iconic covers. And that is Avengers 223, which came out in 1982 from Marvel Comics. It had a high sale of $370 at 9.8, and that was in August of 2024. Last sale of this book is $17 fine. The Raws are going for about $18 at a very fine, while 9.8 averages about $319. Surprisingly, there's only 700 and 11 copies in the census. And this is an iconic art of Ant-Man and Hawkeye done, sorry, done by Ed Hannigan, an artist that I'm not familiar with at all. But he has the he created this cover, and this cover is iconic. It actually was done in one of the MCU movies. So there you have it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that there's only 7-Eleven in the census, with it being like part of, it's crossed over into, movie media or TV media. That's surprising. And it looks great. It's a good cover.
Mhm. It's a great cover. It's good work with the book. It's a book, again, very inexpensive. Cough up $20 for an iconic cover like this? Yeah, sure. You know? Mhm. All right. Our next book is actually another book that I would say is not as expensive, but has gained momentum lately because it has been more of a spec book. Marvel Superheroes Secret Wars number 10, 1984, from Marvel Comics. 9.8, last sold for $500 back in August of 2021. The last sale of this book was $60 near mint. The raws go roughly for about $20, while graded copies go for $215 at a 9.8. There's currently 2,403 copies in the census, and this is iconic artwork of Doctor Doom done by Mike Zeck.
This is awesome. And, again, this is starting to get into my wheelhouse when these were on the stands when I was, actually looking at comics when I was very young. And you just read this series, and the whole time you're just seeing how powerful Doom is and how smart. And then something does this to him, and you're like, oh, like, who did that? That,
Yeah, it makes you want to read what's in the book, right?
yeah, exactly.
Hmm. And this is one of those covers. I purchased this book about a year ago for $10, and look at what it's going for now. So there is a demand for it. It says Secret Wars. It has Doctor Doom in the cover. This book is going to, I think, continue to rise. It may never rise to that $500 mark. That was a different time period with 2021. That was at the boom of the comic sales. So it may never really reach that high. Maybe much later at a different time. But $60 now for this book, where last year was $10. That's impressive.
Yeah, yeah, and with Robert Downey Jr., like this book is just going to climb because it's an iconic Doom cover.
Let's take a look at another great iconic image. This one's done by John Byrne, and that's Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man 101. This came out in 1985 from Marvel Comics. The high sale of this book is $750 and 9.8. That was in February of 2022. Last sale of this book was $26 near no grade. The raws are going for $36, while graded copies are going for $136 at a 9.6. There's currently 1,359, check that, 1,360 copies in the census, because I did submit my copy. Um, it is a classic black suit, negative space, John Byrne Spider-Man.
Yeah, and in the lesser known and loved Spectacular Spider-Man, which I think is a hidden gem of a series for sure. But again, this cover, you look at it, you want to buy it. It stands out. It's just, especially when you see it in person. I know you've seen it, but I just closed this run out a couple of years ago and picked this book up. And when you have it in your hand, it's like, wow, this just looks awesome.
And the fact that it's John Byrne that did this one, it shocks me a little bit, because I don't. John Byrne has this aesthetic style, as he has a lot of detail in his art style. This is one of those rare occasions where detail doesn't matter, right? Because you have to play with negative space here. You have to focus on the blacks and the whites to make it work. And man, he made it work. Easily one of his best works. Very different than what he normally does. But this one stood the test of time. Let's go to another great Mike Zeck cover, and that is Captain America Annual number 7, 1986 for Marvel Comics. High sale of this book was $780 and a 9.8, and that was in January of 2022. The last sale was $29 at a very fine. $26 is the fair market value for a raw, while $129 is the fair market value for a 9.6 grade. There's currently 2,913 copies in the census. This is an iconic Captain America versus Wolverine done by Mike Zack.
Can we just see this in movie action,
I
please?
think there's a possibility now.
Like that scene in the first Avengers where Thor and Captain America and Iron Man are all kind of fight down in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
I love that scene. It's amazing.
I've seen this in different variations. Obviously, it's a cover that's been homaged numerous times. It's actually an ultimate version of this cover that they did. They've done it with different. They recolored it. They redid some inking of it. But the original, to me, is the best because it just shows that energy from a battle, and you really don't know who's going to win this battle.
Yeah.
That's how good this battle looks. And you don't have to see much of Wolverine because you don't get to see his face really, but he means business.
Yeah,
So
I just love this cover because it answers those comic nerd geek questions of, well, who could pick up Thor's hammer? Well, what about Wolverine's claws versus Captain America's shield? Like, we all want to know that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. This is going to be the first of quite a few. Batman 423, 1988 for DC Comics. $3,200 and 9.8 at a high sale was September of 2023. Last sale of this book was $163 at a no grade. The raws are going for $121 at a very fine. $410 is the fair market value at a 9.6. There's currently 5,717 copies in the census. And this is the first Todd McFarlane cover that we're going to see on this list. Definitely not going to be the last, featuring Batman.
I love this cover. Obviously, totally iconic. I love the story behind it, that he's just, pressed for time and had to get something done. So he didn't want to do all the body work and everything, but just amazing. I love it.
I've seen artists do the body work, like what it looks like inside, and they've had some fun with it. I've been on the hunt for this book. Now, it's not that I can't find this book because every convention I go, I find it. Every convention I go. I cannot find a price I'm willing to give up for it. You get what I'm saying? So I want to be able to get this book. I want to be able to pay what I consider to be a fair price. Right? I don't want to pay $121 for this book. I want to be able to pay a little less for this book. I want to get the first printing, even though the third printing is easily as hunted as the first printing. Honestly, I don't care about that. I care about the first printing. I care about McFarlane's Batman logo in the corner in the bottom. I like that a lot. And I think this is one of those books. It's like, we look at all the other covers, which we are going to look at some of them. This one's so good, man. What he does with the cape is amazing.
Yeah. This is one of those ones. It's in my pile to be graded. It'll probably go out sometime this year. And it's going to stay with me for quite some time after it's graded.
Yeah. I have a foil edition of this book, but I want the real book. I don't want the foil facsimile or whatever you want to call it. So that was our first Todd. Let's go to our second Todd. And that's Incredible Hulk 340, 1988 from Marvel Comics. The high sale is $3,612, and that was in May of 2023. Last sale of this book was $131 at a no grade. Raws are going for $167 at very fine, while graded 9.6 are going for $378. This does have a high census count of 14,272 copies because everybody I know loves this iconic Wolverine and Hulk by Todd McFarlane.
Yeah, obviously love this cover. I have this one too. And I love the story. It just came out recently of Todd watching Deadpool Wolverine and
Mhm.
watching that scene because he hadn't seen it before, and just his reaction was cool.
Yeah. He even said it's in the wrong angle.
Yeah, yeah. It was the wrong hand or something.
Yeah, he used the wrong hand. It's like, dude, right? I remember picking this book up when I was a kid and being able to see it and just say, "Holy crap, this is gorgeous." Now, in the comic book itself, there's a third character. There's always a third character. I don't know why there's always a third character when it's a Hulk Wolverine storyline. There's this third character. I'm not. It's like a brown Hulk type of thing. No one really cares about it. Um, and it's another. It's actually their first battle with the Hulk with Gray Hulk. So it has that going for it. But it's again, this is literally a cover buy. That's all you buy this for the cover. And you could tell with the census count, people have loved this book so much that they're sending it out to get graded.
Yep, I'm doing the same thing. I just want to protect it, and I'll put it up behind me when I get it back there
Yeah.
somewhere.
Mm-hmm. I have my book. I haven't sent it out to get graded just yet because I need the one signature. No, I need two signatures. According to JBL, Justin Birch, I have to get Rick Parker's signature, which I don't have, which is the letterer. I have Bob Wycheck's signature, who's the inker, and I also have Peter David's signature, who's the writer of the story. The one signature that's missing is Todd McFarlane.
Well, there you go. Is that
Yeah,
the book you're taking then?
that's the book I need to get signed. It's the only book I have. I don't need any other book signed. I need this one signed because it's already double signed. So I need that signature.
And you'll probably be able to get it graded the same weekend if you want.
Very, very strong possibility. This is not the first Wolverine Hulk cover in our list. It's not the first Wolverine Hulk cover where the Hulk is gray. Our next book is Wolverine number 8, 1989 from Marvel Comics. $1,115 at a 9.8 was the high sell in September 2022. Last sale of this book was $110 near mint. The raws are going for $83 near mint, while the graded copies are going $295 at 9.8. There's currently 5,464 copies in the census. This features Wolverine as Patch and Hulk as Joe Fixit by Joe Buscema.
Yeah, I love it. It just makes me laugh when you look at the two, like side by side. It's awesome.
I didn't realize how expensive this book actually is.
Yeah, me either. I was just looking at the numbers there going, oh, I should pull this out and have it sent for grading.
Mm-hmm. So last year I got a mystery box from Jack B Comics, right? It was I think like $150 mystery box. And in that it might have been more, I don't remember on top of my head. In that mystery box, this book was in there. And
Oh, wow.
it was a high grade. It had one spine tick, which is fine to me. I don't care at the end of the day. But when I saw it, I was like, holy crap, it's in there. It was also the first Iron Fist was in that box as well. And I was like, holy crap, this is awesome. This is a book, and I had it at one time. So, but now I'm happy that I have it again. So, classic book. I love that it's Patch and Joe Fixit. And this makes me want to read the story because it looks like a little bit of comedy as well.
Yeah.
And to take Prime, it is a twins homage, which is great. Perfect. All right, let's take a look at our next book, which is another book that's been homaged a lot, but is also we talked about with Deadpool Wolverine. This scene was also part of Deadpool Wolverine, and this is Uncanny X-Men 251, 1989 from Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book was $600 at a 9.9 PGX on August of 2024. Last sale of this book was $45 near mint. This book is surprisingly very inexpensive for $12 at a fine. $244 is a 9.8. There's currently 1,409 copies in the census. This is the classic crucifix of Wolverine, done by Mark Silvestri.
This was probably one of my favorite eras of X-Men for sure. Is this kind of 200 to 300 range. I just love those issues, and a lot of the covers are great, and this one is really good. Again, you see it, and you're like, well, I mean, I got to know what happens in this book now.
Yeah, and then they did it in the movie. They did the scene in the movie, which actually bumped this book up a little bit more. It is what an amazing cover that Mark Silvestri did. And what makes it even more interesting is that he didn't do a lot of work. It's it's done within the shadows. So there's some, obviously some play on light. The colors make this book stand out even more. The purples and the greens. So the secondary colors are actually making this book even more iconic in my mind. All right, we're sticking with Wolverine. We're going to stay with Wolverine. And our next book is another John Byrne, another Wolverine done by John Byrne, and that's Wolverine 17. This book came out in 1989 from Marvel Comics. High sale of this book is $384 and 9.8, and that was in March of 2022. $11 was the last sale, and $17 is the fair market value for a very fine, while graded copies goes for $160 at a 9.8. There's currently 1,898 copies in the census, and it's a John Byrne Wolverine. This is more in tune to what I see when I see John Byrne style, as opposed to the Spider-Man one. But again, John Byrne is known to have certain details, but this one has a little bit more details than what he's done before in the past.
Yeah, I love this. I love the red background. Like, again, wall book, it's going to stand out. This is on posters, t-shirts. This is on everything. It's just a really awesome looking cover. And I love the pose of it too. It's just great.
And he manages to get the whole thing within the box, right?
Yeah,
so he's like in the box, because sometimes they'll just get cut off the arms, but it works. It's an image that's coming at us, and it's like, I don't want to mess with this guy. Got the claws out too. Yeah. Okay. Our next book here is another iconic image. We talked a little bit about Hulk. We looked at some Spider-Mans, and we talked about Todd McFarlane. So let's go with our next iconic Todd McFarlane book, and that's Amazing Spider-Man 328. This book came out in 1990 from Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book was $432 at a 9.8. That was in April of 2022. Last sale of this book was $102 at a 9.8. This book goes for about $23 near mint, $107 at a 9.8. 4,401 copies are in the census. This is an iconic Spider-Man and Hulk cover.
I loved this era of ASM. Like, again, not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but look at what they're doing now by giving Spider-Man all these crazy powers. But look at what they did then, and they did it so much better, because he didn't just have powers and was using them. He was like, just using them by mistake, really. And this battle here, it's awesome. Like, again, you see this cover and you're like, Spider-Man is punching the Hulk in the groin. Okay, I'm buying it.
And Hulk's like,
yeah, with his green tongue.
And this is Cosmic Spider-Man. But what's significant about this book, again, this is one of those rare keys. It's a minor key. It is the last Todd McFarlane on Amazing. So he will then move to Spider-Man #1 from there. What can you say, man? And what's great is how contained it is.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, they're cramped up. Hulk is cramped up. Spider-Man is doing his thing. The trade dress is just losing its marbles right now.
And you still get the UPC box like done with the cool art. Just
Yeah,
awesome.
it's such a cool cover. All right, moving on. We're gonna stick around with Amazing Spider-Man, and this artist. I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse, but it was the man that always had to follow Todd McFarlane. I think it was a blessing, but Eric Larson does not get the credit he should deserves. But what's really good about Eric Larson is that he should get the credit for giving us the Venom that we know and love, the way a lot of people like Venom. And that is Amazing Spider-Man 346. This book came out in 1991 from Marvel Comics. A high sale of this book is $440 at a 9.8. That was in March of 2023. Last sale of this book was $4. Would you believe that? The Raws are going for about $24, while 9.6 are going for $53. There's currently 2,152 copies in the census. The reason why I say he deserves the credit for giving us the Venom we know and love is because if it wasn't for Eric Larson, we wouldn't have that tongue.
Yeah.
Right? Because he was all Todd did was made him smile.
Yeah. I'm kind of on the fence. I like both versions. I like things about both of them. But
Yeah.
I mean, that does look awesome.
All right. It is such a standout cover. We know already how dangerous Venom is, right? We already knew it. This was a return of Venom, and man, you see Spider-Man is just scared out of his mind because Venom's gonna rip his head off.
Izzy, I'm just going to tell you now. Imagine a Spider-Man movie. Let's call it Spider-Man 4. And there's no world saving. There's no other shenanigans. There's no 20 different characters or villains. It is only the story of Venom and Spider-Man. And especially that whole thing that you mentioned about, especially when Venom was first around and like Peter just doesn't know. He can't sense him. Venom knows everything about him. He's showing up at his house. Like you could make it into a really cool superhero horror movie. I think it would be amazing.
Yeah, and it had that intensity. When you read
Yeah.
those, the intensity was there. When Venom showed up, it was like, how the hell is Spidey's gonna get past this?
Yeah.
Of course, we found out sound and all that stuff, but at that time, you didn't even think about it because of that. I agree with you. I would love to have seen a proper Spider-Man pretty much running away from Venom the whole time.
Yeah.
I could see that all day, right? Okay, here's the greatest part. Eric Larson is the one artist that is given credit to give us an iconic cover. And what's really cool is that he was able to do it back to back. Our very next issue is Amazing Spider-Man 347, the very next issue. Back in 1991 from Marvel Comics, $450 at a 9.8. That was the high sale in January of 2023. Last sale was $14. The Raws are going for $20 at a fine, $210 for 9.8. There's currently 2,341 copies in the census. This is the very next issue. Classic Hamlet pose. And remember I said Venom is about to tear off Spider-Man's head? Well, he delivers it in the next issue.
Yeah, and there you get that classic Venom look that they carried over into the 90s animated series. Two like awesome covers for sure.
Yeah, I just love that they're back-to-back iconic covers. Back-to-back, he pulled it off. Not many people could do that, and Eric Larson was able to do it, and did such a great job on it, man. You know what I mean? So really good stuff there. I love it. I think it's awesome. I happen to have both books. I love those books. Again, they're $20 books. They're not expensive. They're not expensive, but they're iconic. They've been immortalized in T-shirts and stuff like that, so it's worth having. All right. Our next book is this is the one iconic cover that I don't fully understand. And it's not, it has nothing to do with the artist because I think the artist is amazing. I love his work. I just don't find this cover being iconic for me, but it falls under the banner of being iconic, and that is X-Men 11. This book came out in 1992 from Marvel Comics. High sale is $365 at a 9.8. That was in May of 2021. Last sale was $98 at a 9.8. Fair market value of this book is $12 at a fine, and $98 is the fair market value as a grade. There's currently 2,338 copies. It is an iconic X-Men cover done by Jim Lee. Believe it or not, this is his last X-Men cover. So there's something to that as well. I've seen this on Target. So it's iconic.
Yeah.
Right?
And I agree with you on this one. Like, you've got a lot of the characters in there, which is cool, but there's not a lot of action really happening.
It's a pinup.
Yeah.
It's a pinup, but it's still great. I'm not knocking that it's not great. And Jim Lee, I love the smirking Jubilee's face. I like how Rogue is looking at Gambit. Like, it to me, it's almost like she's saying, "What are you doing with your hand right now?"
Yeah.
You know. But what's weird to me is like Psylocke is just she's just in the background, just there, like just you got to put Psylocke in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, you know. But it is a cover that is iconic. It is a cover that people want to have. So it's part of this collection of iconic non-Keeves. So I agree with that. It looks great, but I don't think it's as if from the 25 books here, this is probably number 25 to me. You know what I'm saying? Now, a book that is extremely iconic to me, and I think it's beautiful, is our next book, and that's X-Men 24, 1993 from Marvel Comics. High sales $285 and 9.8. That was in June of 2021. Last sale was $13 near mint. Raws are going for $18 at a very fine. 9.8s are going for now $172. There's currently 1,048 copies in the census. This is a beautiful Rogue and Gambit by Andy Cooper. This is what I'm talking about when I say it has to have some kind of storytelling. We know they shouldn't kiss. And in this image, it's very much, are they going to?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And definitely, this cover is another one that stands out. And when you go to different booths, it's always out and about.
Mm-hmm.
I really like it. I said to you when we were looking at these, I was like, you could put up just as easily the Savage Land Rogue cover in here. There's lots of Rogue covers that you could use, but Rogue is kind of defined now, and Gambit to some degree, on their relationship more than anything. So having them both there is cool.
Yeah, and it's a shame that in the X-Men movies, they never really went there. They always kept them in two separate places. I thought that was sad. Like, they had a relationship with Iceman, and I was like, come on, Gambit's your guy.
Yeah.
Only the animated series really made it make sense. And in the last animated series, really made it make sense how much they care for each other. How, he is who he is, but that's his woman. You know what I mean? And she loves him more than anybody else, even though there are times she's like, I can't be with you. So I think their relationship is one of the most beautiful relationships. As far as the X-Men goes, with the exception of Jean and Scott as the X-Men couple, they're very close second to me. And it's, for some people, they're number one. They're the best couple.
Yep. Yeah.
Great. I know you guys said there's not many DC, but we got to throw in a DC, and we're going to throw in an iconic cover, one that a lot of people want, and that is Catwoman 51, 2006 for DC Comics. A high sale of this book is $380 at a 9.8. That was in March of 2023. Last sale of this book was $243 at a 9.8. The Raws are going for $125 near mint, while the graded copies are going for $264 and 9.8. There's currently 1,636 copies in the census. This is the classic Adam Hughes Catwoman.
Yeah, and when I was first starting to go to conventions, I'd heard of this cover or saw it, and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool cover. I should pick that up. And then I saw the price. I'm like, oh yeah, no, I won't pick that up.
I picked this one up when it came out. So I have this. I have a really good copy of this book. My copy is signed by Adam Hughes. So I'm
Oh wow.
I'm going to send it out to CGC for JSA grading because I recently had it pressed. There's something about this cover. I honestly, there's some other Catwoman covers that Adam Hughes has done, but I don't know what this cover has that the other ones don't. You get what I'm saying? It could be that it's a mug shot. Why is her eyes the way they are? It looks like she was crying or something like that. So what he's doing here is that he's giving us a backstory in this mugshot. Another thing that's quick to note is the numbers. So the numbers I found out, and I'm sorry guys, I've never watched it, but the numbers are the numbers in Lost, the TV series.
Oh yeah, I've never watched that show either.
So there's something with the numbers with Lost in the numbers. So that's a little Easter egg that he threw in there. The book in itself, it's fine. And it's like today with the variants. You know what I mean? A lot of variants today are beautiful variants, but there's no real meat inside the stories. This one is just it's awesome, dude. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I love it. I have my copy. Can't wait to get it graded. All right. We're going to go back to some beautiful women, but we have to go back to Marvel. We have to go back to Spider-Man. And we're going to go back to the Mary Jane that everyone loves. And that's this one with Amazing Spider-Man 601, 2009 from Marvel Comics. High sale of this book is at $699 and a 9.8. That was in November of 2023. Last sale of this book is $151. This book at Ross goes for about $150 near mint. Graded copies go for about $262 at 9.6. There's currently 3,019 copies in the census. I'm actually surprised by that number too. I would imagine it would have been a lot more. However, this is the classic Mary Jane done by J. Scott Campbell.
It's 3,020, Izzy.
It will be 3,021 soon too. Because I have a 9.8 contender.
Yeah, mine is as well. It's there right now. I just checked. It's gone into the next phase after receiving. So,
finally, it's in grading.
Yeah,
that's awesome. All right, talk to me. We've spoken about this book before when we did J. Scott Campbell a few weeks ago, but let's talk about it again. This is the Mary Jane we want.
Yeah, just Tom. Just give it to us. We want Peter and Mary Jane together. It worked. This cover is amazing. It looks so good. She knows he's Spider-Man, obviously, at this point. He's going out because he has that responsibility to do that. And they have conflict because of it. It's good. I love it.
And that's what makes the story so great, right? The fact that she knows that he has to do what he has to do, so she doesn't stop him from doing it. She wishes that he didn't have to do it, but she knows that he has to and he's compelled to it, right? So that's the real story that we want. We don't want her hanging out with some guy named Paul having some fake kids. No, we don't need her being Venom. We don't need that. That's not the Mary Jane we want. We want this Mary Jane. This is the Mary Jane we love and we care for and we want to see back proper. They don't want to give us that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
All right. We're down to one more book. This is our last book in this 25. I consider this may very well be the last iconic cover that we've ever had. That doesn't mean that we're not going to get other iconic covers, right? And again, I'm not referring to keys. I'm talking about covers. And it's fun. It's Detective Comics 880, 2011, DC Comics. $805 at 9.8 was the high sale. And that was all the way back in November of 2018. Last sale of this book was $149 at 9.6. This book goes for $138 near mint. 9.8 go for $356. There's currently 3,106 copies in the census. And this is an iconic Joker done by Jock.
This cover makes me sad, Izzy, because I have Detective Comics, like probably 500 and something, up to 700 or 879. And then I have Detective Comics 881 up to current. And somehow this book got missed.
Really?
Yeah, I think what happened at the time, I was not going in very often. So it just either got missed or they probably took it out because it was worth money.
Mhm.
And when I went to get it, because I had no idea, then when I finally read through them, I realized I was missing this one. And it was too late at that point. It was already worth too much money.
Yeah, I have a copy of this book because I enjoy that run of DC of Detective Comics. So I'm happy to have it. Again, another one of those covers that it stood the test of time. I've seen this on t-shirts, like I've seen on Moleskin notebooks. I've seen this image.
Yeah.
Moleskin notebook, and not just standard notebook, but a Moleskin. There's the work that Jock did in with this cover, making the bats form into the Joker. It's just crazy.
Yeah, just a great idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful book. That was our last book. What do you think about this top 25 iconic covers? Remember, these are non-keyed covers. They are, to me, this is the best of the best as far as covers. This is why people buy comic books. This is why people get comic books graded. A lot of these covers are very affordable. I don't think, we did hit some bangers, but they're all bangers, really, because they're iconic, right? From those books, are there any books in that group that you think, if you had the chance, I need more?
Oh yeah. There's a bunch that, that I would try to get that, if they were the right price like you, but, just depends on the condition and a lot of things, right? Like I'd love to have one of those Hulk books where even the Cap is the most realistic one is the Cap annual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say the Cap annual. I have that one. I told you, right? The Batman 423 is the one I want. This one, the one that we're looking at right now. I really want that book. I do have Uncanny 251, the crucified Wolverine. However, I don't have one in good condition, so I need one at a better condition. And at the price it's going for, I'm pretty sure I'll grab it at a high condition cover. A lot of these other books I do own and I do have. The Silver Age books are a little more difficult. And if, in case you didn't notice, I didn't really put Golden Age books in this list because a lot of Golden Age books are just that. They're sought after already. We want to be able to give you books that you probably could go hunt them down and find them. But let me know in the comments what's your thoughts on this 25. Let me know if I missed any. If I did miss any, I really want to know. But remember, they have to be non-key covers to count for this list. I would love to do another list similar to this for something else. So you guys let me know what kind of lists you want me to do as far as creative spotlights when we do these different kinds of books. I know we've been talking about doing a Marvel Rivals creator spotlight, but let me know in the comments what you think. I personally thought this was great. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more comic content. Check out these other videos for even more insight, and I'll see you at the next one. Excelsior.